All right, Robert, some of our real estate chat viewers may have bought a pre-construction, whether it's a condo, whether it's a freehold. And the unfortunate circumstance is some of them, not maybe our viewers, but some of those who have purchased into the pre-construction space are having a bit of difficulty. And there's a lot of different factors for that. So that's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode of Real Estate Chat with
Robert Eid.
and John De Perez. So let's start with this article that Robert has shared with me. And this one is entitled, "The Pain is Real: Why This Segment of the GTA Real Estate Market is Starting to See More Distressed Buyers." And we're going to link this in the show description. Make sure you click subscribe so you never miss an episode of Real Estate Chat, because you love to hear Robert and I chatting about real estate. But basically, it's cracks are starting to show in Toronto's pre-construction housing market. I think we talked about this a while back, but the media has only recently caught on, Robert. Financial pressures not only stall future projects, some industry experts are also seeing an uptick in purchasers putting their properties up for sale. There's a lot of numbers in this article. Basically, one of the ones that I want to pull up is sales are down more than 50% below the 10-year average. We're also talking and seeing about typically, here's a quote, typically around 10 to 15% want to assign or flip property. Now that's bumped up to 30%. So you'll get to read this article, read the stats. Robert and I will be commenting about this. And Robert, the first question is this. There's a lot of terms that are being thrown out in this article, pre-construction, assignment, all that sort of stuff. Let's start with the idea of buying pre-construction. Who bought pre-construction?
Well, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, if you wanted to buy anything, you bought pre-construction. You bought from plans. My daughter, for the second time, went up to, I don't always want to call it Oak Bridges, but it's Holland Landing. And the ground wasn't even dug, but they paid $600,000 for something that was going to be there in 3 years. And then it took a little bit longer than that to finish. And the best part about that was that they had a house already. And so in the time that it took for the new home to be built and the time that it took for it to be extended to be built, the value of theirs went up, but the fixed price on what their pre-construction had been was established. So they actually did quite well on the fact that it took a while to be built and took some delays. And then they had the COVID and all that just on the closing, which didn't make it easy. But anyway, so pre-construction means you build from plans and you're expecting that the high rise will go up or that the subdivision will be built over time. And this is the way it's done these days, that builders do not take chances. They do not put a shovel into the ground. They might put up one or two models in a detached number of houses, subdivision in Lindsay or somewhere outlying, but they just don't dig until they've got it mostly sold, because that's how the financing is structured most easily for the developer. So high rise or detached, otherwise freehold, it just takes a while to build them. And because they got so far ahead in what they were completing, that all you could buy was something that was not built yet.
Yeah, and in an upward moving market, this is all great. And I'm sure your daughter bought at a time where the market was doing well. And of course, we've seen recent market changes. And during the era of cheap money and low rates for a very long time, there was a frenzy of buying. Resale inventory dipped. And of course, when everybody started to see this uptick in demand for homes in general, what happened to pre-construction sales?
Well, this is the thing that's mentioned without being mentioned. Many of the properties, both townhouses, semis, detached, high-rise, were built by or bought by specs, people who never, ever intended to move into them. They might have stated that that's what their intention was, but they never intended to do anything other than immediately close the deal and flip it to somebody else, or assign the transaction to somebody else before the closing ever took place. Now, in the last 10 years, the game changed quite a bit as far as HST is concerned, and as far as Revenue Canada is concerned on sale of principal residence and the way they look after them their government's own revenue interest with the land transfer tax in making you declare at the time of purchase what you're going to do. However, as it's again supply and demand, if all the supply is eaten up, then all you're left with, if you want to buy another house, and is one that's not built yet. So I don't think I'm answering the question directly.
No, neither did the article, right? So it was a frenzy because, as you said, so Spec, for those of you real estate chat viewers new to the channel, Spec is a speculator, somebody who thinks that they can buy something on paper, flip it in a few years at profit, right? So when we saw the demand pick up, a lot of speculation happened. Low money, cheap money, low rates, very long time. Everybody jumped in, of course, secured these deals. And then what ended up happening, right? So there were lineups outside of these developed, like condominium projects, you couldn't get anything, right? You had to know a realtor who had super, super, super duper platinum, gold, whatever access. And that's the only way, because those platinum real estate agents had specific units assigned for them to sell. So let's say you knew somebody that had 10 units to sell. Like they'd all sell out. You would have no, as part of the general public, you type in a form somewhere and say, hey, I want this condo. You'd have no chance. Now builders are, forming groups together and creating promotions. And now you can buy with 5% down. We talked about this in a past episode of Real Estate Chat as well. So I guess the question becomes, Robert, that those who bought on Spec are now trying to assign because they can't close, because obviously the appraisal is not coming in. Should a Real Estate Chat viewer watching this right now buy pre-con today?
Okay, what you're doing with pre-construction is looking at the value of the same thing today and the same thing on delivery in 3, 5, 7 years down the road. And the prudent purchaser will buy something that's less than what they could buy it today, because they're going to take delivery of it in the future. So they're going to buy the time for it to appreciate. If they're being asked to pay more than today's price and they're not going to get it till sometime in the future, then they're buying on the assumption that everything will continue to go up like it did. The past often, but sometimes doesn't, foretell the future.
So in a situation where, for example, you're buying, like the pre-con will always be at tomorrow's prices. Maybe if you bought in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s, there was a big gap because real estate prices were on the resale end rising quicker than, I guess, or not as quickly, if you will, versus today, or not today, but recent history, where all of a sudden you're seeing double-digit price gains. And so, if somebody is looking to speculate or invest in real estate, Robert, would you say it's a fair move versus somebody who's looking to buy as an end user who plans to live there for maybe 5-10 years after it's actually built and paying today's on paper price, which is actually a future price, if that makes sense?
Okay, I have a very hard time saying anything favorable about spec housing, spec buyers. I don't think they play I don't think they should be part of the real estate market for less than 3 units. If you want to buy a high-rise apartment building, go ahead. But if you want to buy and hold off the market an individual unit, then all you're doing is forcing up the price for people who want to live there. So yes, it's a free enterprise system. Do it if you want, but don't ask for me to say it's a great thing or that you're a smart person. You're not. You're going to get caught one of these days, and today is one of the days when you're getting caught.
And if you're an end user, what's your advice? So if I'm looking to buy a place, whether it's in a new subdivision that's being built at these present rates and, possible rate hike announcement coming up soon, am I safe to say that if I change my mind, let's say I'm genuinely an end user, but I change my mind and I say later on, hey, I don't really like this place. Maybe I want to buy something else. Could I possibly offload that unit within 3 to 5 years once it is built?
Okay, well, if you're a first-time buyer, the answer to you is one thing. If you have a house already, then the answer is something else. That because you're using the equity in one place to buy the other. If you're a first-time buyer and you change your mind, well, I hope it's an economic or family situation that's caused terrible, dreadful things to happen so that you have to change your mind. But if it's just you changing your mind, well, you're going to have to tough it out. And maybe it's favorable, maybe it's not. If something terrible has happened, well, you're also going to have to tough it out. But we sympathize with you and we'll help you out in any way we can.
All right, so there you have it. If you have any questions about buying pre-construction at this point or getting into assignments sales, I mean, that's another topic for another day. Feel free to leave a comment. Make sure you like if you like this episode, and make sure you follow us for more episodes of Real Estate Chat. Make sure you make the right decision that's good for you. Okay, so there's a lot of articles, there's a lot of realtors telling you things. Do a lot of research before you make your move. It's going to be a very important move for you to make. Thanks for watching. Take care and bye for now.
Bye for now.